Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Regarding the concept of prophethood, the misconception I will try to remove today pertains to a notion which is found in many Muslim mosques, and that is that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ, in his infancy, when he was in his cradle, he spoke to the moon. Now, this is what has been reported by Abbas, who was, of course, the paternal uncle of the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ. It is said that he went to the Prophet and said that the thing that inspired him most to accept Islam was that when he was an infant, when the Prophet was an infant, he saw him conversing with the moon, and of course he was pointing towards the moon, and wherever his finger would point, the moon would dip at that place. And the Prophet in reply said, yes, this is something which happened. The moon spoke to me and I spoke to the moon. And I also heard him say the tasbih of God when he dipped and he was below the throne of the Almighty. So this is what the Prophet replied in response. Now, it needs to be understood that this whole incident has not been narrated in a secure manner. It is something which cannot be relied upon. One of the books in which it is recorded is the Dalail al-Nubuwah of Imam Bayhaqi. And Imam Bayhaqi himself, after recording this incident, has said that this incident is primarily dependent or solely dependent on Ahmed ibn Ibrahim, one of the narrators, who is absolutely majhul. He's an unknown narrator, and anything which is reported by him cannot be accepted. The other thing which of course is very evident that Abbas radhiyallahu anhum himself was an infant. He was just a couple of years older than the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So of course he couldn't have observed this reality from a person who was a couple of years younger to him, and of course then later on narrated to him. So this is something of an anomaly which is found in this narrative, and on the basis of this it cannot be accepted. It needs to be understood that perhaps there was a time in the Muslim Ummah as well, like their predecessors, the Christians, in which they started elevating the status of their own prophet, and as the Quran says, they indulge in ghulu, or exaggeration, religious exaggeration, and this is what happened with Muslims as well. And we Muslims have to be very careful that we must not attribute or ascribe anything to the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ which is not reported through reliable means. And as I said, this whole incident that the Prophet Muhammad ﷺ was conversing with the moon one time when he was just an infant, when he was in his cradle, is absolutely unsound. It is not reported by sound people. It is not reported in a sound manner, and Muslims must pay heed to this fact, and it should be very clear that this incident has no basis at all. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات.